When we last left our heroes, they had just been through a space and time traveling adventure, which left them with a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. After receiving an urgent letter from Erky Timbers, they journeyed north to the Tower of Still Tower and confronted Future Still Tower once and for all. They battled Future Still Tower in a heroic and harrowing confrontation where one of them died and was brought back to life, several of them went unconscious, but in the end they triumphed over this corrupt and sinister lord. After brief deliberation and some recuperation, the party decides to journey to the basement where they believe the ritual is taking place. They creep into the basement and witness a scene that can only be described as horrific. The floors and walls are riddled with arcane writ and dead bodies. In the middle of the room sits an altar, and on it is the unconscious or dead body of Carlisle, the elven necromancer. Pointed at his heart, floating in midair, is a curved blade. Looming over the entire scenario is a cage with a small golden creature inside of it. The cage is suspended in midair by 4 chains that are connected to the walls. Corpses are attached via hooks to the walls, and other dead bodies lay on the floor. And a foreboding hum emanates the room. Party pauses and timidly decides what to do. Selena steps forward towards the altar as Justice flies up and makes for the cage. Whenever Selena crosses the arcane writ on the ground and steps closer to the altar, a magical barrier erects between her and the party, separating them. A large, flaming face with yellow eyes, large, prominent horns, and a crown of jagged iron emerges within the barrier and speaks directly to Selena.
Finish what he started. Sacrifice the elf. Free me from my prison.
The flaming face continues.
Grasp the sword of sorrow. Become my awakener.
Justice continues flying towards the cage that has a golden creature inside of it. The cage, incidentally, is not within the barrier. It's not protected by this magical energy that separates Selena from everyone else. Meanwhile, Selena conjures a mage hand. The entity responds.
Stay your hand, witch. Think before you act. I will remember your face. And when the armies of hell march on the prime material plane on the Hunter's Moon, yours will be the first I come for.
Selena's eyes harden and narrow. She's sussed out at this point that the flaming face is largely impotent, and she can end this ritual if she'd wish. She conjures her mage hand and slowly moves it over to the Sword of Sorrow, like a cat pushing a glass off of a counter, staring down this infernal general. She uses her mage hand to grasp the blade and tosses it to the ground. When the Sword of Sorrow connects with the ground in the arcane writ, it shatters into 1,000 pieces. A wave of force energy dissipates the arcane writ and the barrier, and Carlisle gasps for air and returns to life with 1 HP, conscious. The flaming face dissipates with a resounding "No!" The ritual is over. Selena scoops up the remnants of the Sword of Sorrow. Justice flies for the cage, unlocks it, gets the golden creature out, and descends with it, cupping it in his arms. Dryden assesses that this creature is a Kirin. Its golden hair is dull and matted. Parts of its flesh are necrotic, and it is malnourished, beaten, has scars, lacerations, and it is in very bad shape. Gilly attempts to move crates, supplies, and debris that are blocking her and the party from the rest of the members of the community of Still Tower. She enlists Sovelius for help, and since Sovelius and her both have a strength score of 8, they make athletics check, and hilarity ensues. They struggle for a while and then eventually ask Erky the Paladin to help them. They sort out the common people and get them all to Briar Shadow Meadery, the local inn and meadery. Justice, in the meantime, hands the baby Kirin over to Dryden, who can better care for it, and investigates the basement. He finds a long-neglected hope chest full of old letters and a sky blue bard cap. The party decides to explore the rest of the tower and see what it's really all about, but Dryden is going to stay behind in the basement with the baby Kirin with Erky Timbers, while they both see to the room and Dryden takes care of the baby Kirin. They loot Still Tower's body, explore the rest of the tower, discovering a library, a workshop, the quarters, and a roof, and several magic items and tomes and interesting objects that they will later make use of. While all that happens, Dryden, while in the basement, spots Mrs. Kilgast, and she is hiding. Their eyes meet. She dominates him and commands him to kill the baby Kirin. He strikes true, landing a decisive blow, however dealing no damage. He makes a Constitution saving throw. He takes 9 points of radiant damage and is blinded. This damage is enough to break him from the Dominate Person spell, and then the fight is on. Mrs. Kilgast casts Mass Suggestion on them, ensuring that if Dryden calls out for their friends using the Horn of Alarm that Dryden has on his person, that he will get them killed. They believe her via the Mass Suggestion spell, and they instead confront her. She casts Modify Memory on Dryden, she casts Modify Memory on Erky, and the fight is over. They just remember taking care of things, taking care of the baby Kieran, their friends leaving, then waiting a little bit, and their friends coming back. And the baby Kieran, when their friends arrive, is still alive. Party reconvenes in the basement with Erky, deciding what to do with the many corpses, and Erky ensures them, and as the gravekeeper, he can slowly but surely get all the bodies out there, get them all put to rest, and there will be a service in the morning. The party has several conversations while in the tower of the basement, and they decide to leave the basement to Still Tower and make for the Briar Shadow Meadery. While at the Briar Shadow Meadery, Sevelius reads the contents of Still Tower's hope chest, since he's the only one who can read Gnomish. He reads the contents of the letters and discovers that Still Tower was a student at Swan College. He was studying to be a bard many years ago. As a bard and as a younger man, he pleaded with his mother, Viscera Still Tower, to leave the tower and to abandon their noble position. He implores his mother that they should leave the tower. He says, we could just pack our things and go. We don't have to do this anymore. It doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to be those people. I've met a nice young girl here at the college, Swan College. Her name is Callie. I love her very much. And later, the letters, Mother, I've confessed my love to Callie and proposed her hand in marriage. She's rejected me. I shall return home and become the Lord of Still Tower. Other letters in his hope chest detail his journey to the high heavens, his kidnapping of the baby Kieran, and his plans surrounding the ritual. He was attempting to free a powerful kind of pit fiend or general of hell named Ovorogesh. In return for freeing Ovorogesh would turn around, destroy the Tower of Silence, and then elevate Putris to the rank of magical advisor in the armies of hell. The party rests at the Briar Shadow Meadery and informs Erky and Busy that they intend to hand over lordship or ownership or management of the town to one of them. And Erky and Busy say, they'll talk more about it later. In the middle of the night, Gilly, having received the moon ring from Morgan, finds herself not needing to sleep. She hears a violin playing in the distance, a beautiful and sorrowful melody. It kind of beckons her, and she moves to find out who it is. And when she turns the corner, she sees that it is Justice playing the violin in the middle of the night. He is playing the Ballad of Gallant. It is a piece about a man who spends his life running from his crimes and his sins, only to die an old man, bitter, afraid, and alone. Gilly and Justice share their thoughts with each other on the song, life, and death. Through the conversation, Gilly realizes that Justice doesn't have a birthday, and they pick a date in the beginning of winter. Gilly returns to her quarters for a night without sleep, and realizes that this is the first time in a while she's felt like herself. By the way, we recorded the audio for this session, so once I'm done recapping, there will be a nice little surprise for you, so be sure to watch the video to the end to see it. Justice, in his boredom throughout the night, ends up laying on the floor and staring at the ceiling. Whenever he does this, he feels the presence, a gentle presence, of a tiny little creature on his chest, making biscuits. He looks up, and it is a cat. This is Mrs. Kilgast. Mrs. Kilgast offers Justice a pact as to be his familiar. If he agrees to kill Mr. Fingelstein, the entity that imprisoned her husband Ovorogesh, she will in turn help him on his quest to kill members of the Gishari noble class. He agrees, with the few caveats. Mrs. Kilgast cannot kill of her own volition, and she will not pursue any direct routes to free Ovorogesh from his imprisonment. Mrs. Kilgast accepts, with the writer that Justice must come with her to hell to kill Mr. Fingelstein. The next day, the party arrived to the funeral service for the town people of Still Tower. Busy gives the eulogy, and in an unusual manner, she makes a long speech, and in it, she basically just talks about the townspeople. She describes them as she knew them. She goes, this one whored too much and drank too little. And this one drank too much and whored too little. And this one I didn't like at all. But she didn't deserve to die. Let us decide, here and now, we never let someone take on the task of that tower by themselves again. People say it was the tower who corrupted Petey. But I knew him when he was younger. He was a selfish bastard, spiteful and vindictive. And so we'll never let the vulnerable and morally decrepit among us take control of that tower. Honor the dead by doing better. There's some kind of light applause, most bewilderment, and the funeral ends. Gilly plays a little tune to escort people out. The party heads back to the tower to do some research. Selena tries to organize the library and perhaps even take some of the books with her, but she soon finds that the tower doesn't like to be reorganized, and the books are mystically bound to the tower. They fly back to their place when they're disturbed too much. After her frustration, she goes to the top of the tower and speaks to her magical cloak for some insights. She's unsure what to do next. She doesn't know what topic to pursue or what tasks to go after. Drill, her cloak, suggests that perhaps she look forward towards her friend, who House Moira has possession of, or captured, or killed. Or she implores Selena to go after her friend, or at least start the research in order to do so. Selena thinks that's a good idea, but she also asks about the corrupting influence of the tower and how to manage it. Drill replies, "It is a popular fiction that these items and artifacts have a corrupting influence. For eons untold, this has been the excuse of tyrants. It was not my choice. The tower made me do it. The staff whispered horrible things to me. Oh no, woe is me. But the truth is, Selena, that the potential for evil is a scar of our creation. It is a part of each one of us. For centuries, members of my brood blamed their actions on the color of their scales. But I was no such evil. When I wed Modru, I had a choice. I made a choice. Your choices are all that you have in your life, Selena. Look to those who abandon their ability to choose, and you will have seen the face of evil." She then goes on to reassure Selena. "I know that people upset you, Selena. I know it is hard for you to be around others after so many years of being by yourself. But you are doing very well, and you are on the right path." Selena thanks her and then returns to the library to do research. So Vilius, Selena, Gilly, and Dryden all research different topics using the Still Towers library. So Vilius researches the Void and finds very little. Selena researches House Moira and ways that they could be keeping her person from her. She discerns a couple things. She discerns that it's very likely using a permanent version of the Force Cage spell, or they have reconstructed the person's memory and identity so that they will not seek Selena out, and that they will not be recognizable if Selena crosses paths with them. She also recalls a piece of information that House Moira came into conflict with House O'Shea, Gilly's house, before the war. Gilly researches the land of the Cold Unending. She learns that the Cold Unending is the southern half of the Feywild. The north half is, of course, the land of the summer forever. Queen Mab rules there, having deposed King Borian in a violent revolution. Among all of Queen Mab's loyal servants, there are the barons. Chief among them is the Baron Le Fay. The Baron Le Fay was a humanoid noble in the time of the Sorcerer Kings. She ruled her little barony and tried to bring reforms to bring people more equality and fairness. When she tried to do that, she was murdered by the other barons who surrounded her territory. In her last few moments, she fled to the forest, called out to Queen Mab. Queen Mab answered and made her a Fey, and then eventually an Archfey. Shortly after the Baron's ascendancy to an Archfey, Queen Mab and her led a violent revolution against King Borian and deposed him. She also learned a little song about the Baron Le Fay, which I won't do for you. Dryden researches legal loopholes. It doesn't find too much. However, one thing is brought to his attention. His father is being kept in the flying city of Intinia, the capital of Avamir. The flying city of Intinia is very close to the Gishari border with Cardoon. And Cardoon is a country that has no extradition treaty with Gishari. And that's where we ended the episode. So that's the episode. No analysis today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with a really beautiful and touching scene, or at least what I thought was a beautiful and touching scene. We recorded the audio from our session, which, by the way, if you haven't, you absolutely need to in your own groups. Even if you never plan to stream or create content with it, it is an invaluable tool for reflection. And just imagine, like, you've never seen yourself play D&D or run it, and how great that would be just to be able to sit there and reflect. So go ahead and do that, but before you do that, go ahead and listen to this scene, the Midnight Duet. So what we are going to see here is Gilly is up all night at the Brow Shatter Meadery thanks to her moon ring. She's heard a violin, someone playing a rather beautiful tune. Justice has rolled very well on his performance check. Gilly has rounded the corner and sees that it is Justice, much to his surprise, playing the violin. And they are going to have a conversation. That's where we will tune in. It's important to remember that Justice is a Warforged assassin. He was made for war. He's a killer. And that Gilly is a
naive bard from a very rich family.
So
I didn't know you played.
one must find something to pass the time when they have hours to themselves.
Sure, I could see that. How long have you been playing? You're quite good.
I would say 12 years, potentially. I picked it up. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry if I woke you.
No, I was having trouble falling asleep anyway. Mind if I play with you?
Not at all. I'm sure that the clumsy fingerings of a novice would sound terrible next to someone experienced as yourself, but I would not mind the company.
Oh, don't be silly. You're not clumsy at all. Not from what I've seen.
I find this the message of the piece particularly poignant. Somebody is consumed by something we call an obsession until it takes them.
You feel a bit of a kinship with that sort of feeling?
I just put the viol away and don't say anything.
I mean, I'm not being judgy or anything. I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from.
It's like, well, no one knows how long the Warforged will live for. They've done experiments, but the running theory is that it's forever, that we won't die.
Sure, that would leave you with quite a bit of a... I could see how that would keep you up at night, so to speak.
Oh, that's humor.
Yeah, sort of a little bit.
It's like, and it makes you feel for those who, if you think that somebody would have an eternity at, like as an option or at their fingertips, and then that life is snuffed out, as so many of my brethren have been, it makes you think of the lost opportunity.
Of course. I mean, makes you think about that with any sort of life form, but most of us aren't expected to live for eternity as you would.
They don't.
Quite a bit to think about. I never really thought about it from that way.
Of course, what do I know? I'm only 17 years old. We've only been around for barely longer than that. We could fall apart after 50 years, and this could all be a lark. So, you never know.
Well, I certainly hope you don't fall apart after 50 years.
I as well. I'd prefer to see at least a century. I hear that they throw a party. Is that the custom?
Parties, sure, for your birthday, for your centennial.
Great.
I'm sure. Wait, have you never had a birthday party?
I mean, I was built on a specific date.
So no built date parties?
No.
Well, what date were you built? Do you know?
I mean, it was approximately 17 years ago. It was
Do you remember what season?
winter, I believe. It was cold outside. I have fragmented memories from that time. You come out basically being a shell.
Gilly's going to pull out her date book. Let's pick a date, and we'll make it your birthday.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite number? We'll pick a date in the winter, and we'll make it your birthday. All right, so we'll just pick a date that fits, and I'll write it down on my date book, and that's what it'll be. And if you and I still know each other at that point, we'll have a birthday party.
I could make a cake. I won't eat it, but...
Oh, you don't have to make your own cake. Don't be ludicrous. Someone else will make you a cake.
No one's ever made me food before.
I've
That's a
seen
lie.
people make you food.
Not for me specifically. They
I
make
mean-
it for the nobility, and then there's the help that just happens to be there.
Okay, well, you'll have a first experience then, if not before.
If we still know each other, and if we're both still alive on the first Benevolence Day of December, then I would gladly eat a birthday cake that you build a day cake.
Sure, a built day cake.
Built day cake.